Hello everybody, let's begin. Today we're going to be doing a tier list video for the GK2. I'm going to be showing you the builds that I use, and we're going to be going over the overclocks and ranking them in our tier list. We also have chat weighing in on this to see how well they enjoy each of these overclocks. First up, we've got compact ammo. I've also got Karl.gg pulled up over here. So, compact ammo, just to double check, we've got 5 more mag size and 30% recoil reduction. This is a decent overclock for the GK2, does decent damage. Well, GK2 does decent damage as it is. The overclock doesn't help with that, but you get larger mag size, and recoil reduction is nice, although GK2 it basically has no recoil. Mag size is kind of whatever. It'd be kind of nice if this was just base kit for the GK2. Because for me, I think I'm going to put compact ammo into C tier. It's a nice bonus, but it doesn't feel super impactful for the GK2. Any thoughts, or is everybody just on board with that for the GK2? If I'm building regular GK2, I'm usually building it like that. Which, I mean, 30% recoil reduction, awesome. Going from 35 rounds to 40 rounds, kind of cool. Oh yes, deep rock content at 5 a.m., technically 4:45, but still. I mean, I'm glad that you're here, but if it's that early for you, go back to sleep. Moving on to the second on our list, we have gas rerouting. Gas rerouting gives us 1 more rate of fire, and it gives us 0.3 seconds faster reload speed, I think. Yep, this one I think is a bit better than compact ammo. Like, I would rather have rate of fire and the faster reload speed than larger mag size. So I'd put this one slightly higher. I'd put this one up into B tier. I think it's a pretty decent clean overclock. Still a clean overclock, so no downsides to it, and it just makes your rifle feel better. So again, if you're a fan of the base GK2, you're probably going to be a fan of this one. Well, moving on to our other clean overclock, we have Homebrew Powder. Homebrew Powder randomizes your damage between 80% and 140%. So statistically, you'll get 10% extra damage on average out of every shot. However, even if you build full damage with this, you run the risk of low rolling towards swarmers, I believe. Because you go down to like 14.5 damage, and they have slightly over 14.5 health. It's very unlikely that you'll low roll them, but when you do, that is pretty rough on Hazard 4 and 5. You don't really need the extra damage. It can be okay. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't like letting RNGesus take the wheel, you know? Yeah, I can understand coffee. Yeah, Homebrew is C tier. Yeah, probably lower than compact ammo. Compact ammo is just a bonus. Homebrew kind of forces you to take like damage in tier 2 and tier 3. And that's not just to get to like the 20-ish damage that you can have. It's just so that then when your lowest roll, it's like 14.5 damage. So you can still like almost one-shot swarmers. You're pretty much guaranteed to one-shot swarmers. There's a very low chance that you don't. And outside that, I usually just build it like this, which cuts into our ammo and our mag size, which makes it also kind of annoying. Because I feel like those two are just so nice to have with the GK2. You can go armor breaking though. If you're not the best shot and you don't hit weak spots that much, armor breaking's okay with it. Moving on to the balanced ones, we have Overclocked firing mechanism. This gives us 3 more rate of fire for doubling our recoil with the GK2. In my opinion, the GK2 doesn't really have much recoil, and the recoil is quite manageable. Giving us 3 more rate of fire is pretty impressive, and this one is probably my favorite GK2 overclock to use. I would say Overclocked firing mechanism is one of the better GK2 overclocks, and I'd put it up into A tier. It's also super fun to run just full rate of fire build with it. Usually I run something like this if I'm just going for fun with the Overclocked firing mechanism, just so then I double the effective rate of fire from going from 7 to 14. You will chew through bullets with this pretty fast, but you also rip through things pretty quick. And the extra movement speed from Battle Frenzy is pretty great. If you want a stronger build than this, I'd probably still go with the stun and go with hollow point rounds, or go with hardened rounds if you're okay with just body shots. Weak spot damage is going to get you the most, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to hit with this one, so armor breaking is also pretty good. And then the Battle Frenzy is pretty great because you will shred through enemies quicker with this build than pretty much any of the other GK2 builds. So getting that constant movement speed is also really nice. So I think this is a step down from S tier. Yeah, I would probably agree. I don't think it's quite as good as some of the other overclocks that I'm going to be putting into S tier for other weapons. But for like the GK2, it's arguably one of the best ones. Bolts of Mercy is one that practically everybody loves, I think. This one gives you 33% more damage towards any enemy that's affected by a status effect. Those status effects do not include corrosion, though, with the new patch of Season 1, where the corrosive sludge pump was added for whatever reason. Don't know why. And these effects do not stack. This all comes with the cost of just 5 magazine size, and this is probably one of the best overclocks in the game because it's extremely unlikely that you're not going to be having some sort of status effect going at all times on enemies. There's just so many status effects that the team can bring now, as well as you can just run electric bolts with Bosco even if you're running solo. So pretty much everything is going to be affected by this. It's kind of a basic overclock, but it is still a very strong overclock. Can Bullets of Mercy proc itself with a stun mod? Yes, it can. You can also proc it with like the cryo grenades or IFGs, white phosphorus rounds, basically any of the bolts from the crossbow. I'm thinking like it's low S tier. This is high A tier, this is low S tier. Like this is a slight step up in terms of overall damage. The magazine size one kind of feels necessary here because having 20 rounds in the gun just doesn't feel way great. Other than that, it's still my same GK2 setup. Plays basically the same, just it hits harder because of that 33% more damage, so that's pretty nice. You can stack all damage with this. Makes the GK2 a little bit more lethal, but it is kind of a basic overclock overall. It's so basic. S tier overclock on a B tier gun. That's probably a good way of putting it. Moving on to the unstables, we got AI stability engine. This one lowers your damage, lowers your rate of fire, but makes it so you basically have a laser gun, you have no recoil, and you have no spread on any of your shots. Pretty good in my opinion. I really like that. You do need to build it for damage, and it's really not great if you don't build rate of fire. Plus this one gives you weak spot damage. I forgot to talk about that. This one gives you like another 40 or is it another 60? I think it's another 60 actually. No, it's 40. Okay, because you have 10 and then yeah, if you take all this you go up to 70% more damage on weak spot hits. So usually I'll build it like this, that way I still have, although you can pick whatever you want. Well, you can pick damage or you can pick mag size here, because you don't really need the larger magazine with the slower rate of fire. 70% extra damage on every shot is really nice when we're hitting weak spots. Lets you do 51 damage per shot on average per hit, which is really good. I think I'm going to put it into A tier, probably above overclocked firing mechanism. I think it is a bit better, although I think I like this one better. So then we move on to our last overclock, which is Electrifying Reload. This one actually got changed. This one used to be a little bit worse than it is now, I would say, because it used to reduce your damage. Now it reduces your ammo and your mag size, but it gives you electricity rounds that last a really long time. They last like 6 seconds and they do 12 damage for every single tick, so you can get something like 72 damage per bullet potentially. The electricity triggers on reloads, so once you shoot an enemy, you go to reload your gun, zaps that enemy, and then you get the damage over time. You also get the slowdown on it. You still had 15 damage, so you can still like one-shot Swarmer, so it's not that annoying. And if you spread out the damage, and if you take the ammo, it's not that bad. You got 450 rounds. Plus, it does take for 6 seconds. It's one of the longest electricity zaps that you can do. I don't think it's that great in multiplayer, though. Most of the time when I've tried using it, it's just kind of been average. I've had pretty average results with it. Armor breaking I actually kind of like on this one. And then usually more stun or Battle Frenzy works really well, too. So then you can just be zapping stuff and keep moving around. Alright, I'm going to put Electrifying Reload into B tier. It's an overall pretty solid overclock now. Has some downsides. It's not super practical in a team setting. But if you can space it out, you can get a lot of value out of it. You can get a lot of damage from it. With certain builds, like if you put it with the crossbow and you have pheromone bolts, it's pretty good. You can spread out the damage pretty quickly. Same with if you have the pheromone grenades. Those are nice.